All right, welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to another episode of Tempered Leadership. I'm your host, Eric Rieger, and today I am joined by the one and only Steve Krull of Be Found Online. Steve, welcome to the program.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having me on Temperamental Leadership.
So I'm going to put a disclaimer on this episode right off the bat that you're probably not going to learn much of anything. This is what happens when two class clowns get on it's the internet, I suppose. And so I expect a lot of laughing from us, probably not from anybody else, but we're going to have a good time. So buckle up. Here we go.
I'm going to challenge the disclaimer just a little bit because I, for one, know how well read you are on leadership philosophy. We chase some of the same people. We read some of the same things. So there might be some wonderful nuggets that show up along the way today for those people. You've told me listeners are taking notes.
They are, and they're letting me know they're taking notes. And I hate when you throw curveballs like that. You got serious all of a sudden, and I'm not used to that from you.
Not at all. We can weave it right back in. It's all going to work out. It's all going to work out, brother.
Yeah, and for the people who are unfortunate enough to be watching this on YouTube, we are sporting our best pandemic looks, and I told you before we started this, I am super jealous of your whatever's going on your face there.
whatever this turns out to be.
Yeah. And for people who are just unfortunately listening to the audio, because you're unfortunately watching on YouTube or listening on the podcast, it is quite the handlebar. What is that called? Is it a Fu Manchu or is it
I call it a hillbilly love handle.
All right.
Might get me in some trouble depending on where I am.
There's like 3 listeners, so it's totally fine.
That's okay. I love the beard. It's modeled after a good friend of mine, Dave, who lives in the middle of nowhere in central Tennessee. I always go down with a goatee or something, and he says, "Stephen, when you gonna grow a man's beard?" And pandemic was a great excuse to grow a beard.
I was gonna put that in Middle Tennessee as the look, so you're nailing it.
Right there. I have actually made my own moonshine at this place in Middle Tennessee as well.
All right. Well, we'll have to weave that into the leadership conversation as well. Is that just this year, or has that been a lifelong thing?
No, I did that. We were down there. We go down to Tennessee a couple times a year to visit Dave and his wonderful family. And there's always something going on. He retired. He was in Northwest Indiana. He's been an electrical worker at a utility for many, many years. And as Dave tells the story, like many people, I'm sure you know some folks have said, well, when I hadn't killed myself when I was 25, I decided I should start saving some money. And dude retired at 55 years old and bought 40 acres at the end of a road, and that wasn't me stuttering. He's at the end of 2 roads in central Tennessee near a lake, and he's got his amazing property, and he's just got all these projects and stuff to do. He's got trails for ATVs. He's got all sorts of stuff. He's got a 2-acre pond on his property, and he's just sort of there. And he traded up for a bunch of space. And you go down there, and I say, hey, I built myself a still. You want to make some moonshine? How do you say no to that? It's cool.
So here are the nuggets I've taken away so far.
We're on track.
If you don't kill yourself by the time you're 25, you should get serious and start saving money. And somehow between that point and 55, you're retired.
Yeah. Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
I am totally off track. So I am not going to make that 55 retirement goal.
Yeah, you and me both.
So we're going to have to come up with a plan B, and hopefully the rest of this episode will.
Podcast sponsors, baby.
Well, maybe you can help me be found online. Segue.
Ooh, nice. I like it.
All right, let's talk about Be Found Online. What's the deal with that? Why did you decide to help people?
Wow, it's going back many, many moons.
I got deep on you really quick. There's my
segue there. So it was many, many moons ago. So I was a closet entrepreneur for years. I was moonlighting. I had a couple of random startups that I would do at night. I worked with some friends. I did some independent stuff. Sometimes I made some money. Sometimes I spent a lot of money. And back in 2006, I found myself liberated from a day job, went through an acquisition, and I found myself sort of staring up at it and saying, wow, is this someplace I really, really want to be? And my boss didn't really, really want me to be there, and I didn't really, really want to be there either. So we agreed to say, hey, let's go our separate ways. And I was stuck. I was splitting my horizons. Sort of, it's like, I always wanted to do my own thing. What do I do? Or holy smokes, I got a wife and two kids and a mortgage and bills piling up. Maybe I should get a job. So I bounced in and out of looking for a job and looking for gig work in search and digital marketing. And I always knew that I never wanted to be an independent contractor. I always wanted to work with people. I wanted a team because I just love the idea of working alongside people, developing leadership and management skills, and helping people grow their personal professional skill sets. It's kind of what I do. And it reached a point where I was sitting with my wife. We were bringing a kid back from getting blood work done on the kid. We're sitting in a pancake house here in Chicago, Golden Nugget Pancake House. And she stares at me across the table. And she says, why don't you do it? And I said, what? Pardon me? She said, just do it. I said, what are you talking about? She said, start the business. She said, the last thing I want is you full of regret when you're 50 years old. So start the business. Let's see what happens. And after I picked myself up off the floor, I was absolutely stunned that she said that. I said, okay, I'm going to hang a shingle. And I broadcast to a few people that I knew that I was going to go do this. And as it would turn out, I almost went to work for a fabulous company in Madison, Wisconsin, just ready to relocate. They made me a fine offer. And I reached out. Net Concepts was the firm. And I reached out to Brian, who was one of the co-founders and the hiring manager in this case. And I said, hey, Brian, I said, can you help me understand a little more about the role? I'm really excited about it, but it feels like it's only got about 2/3 of what I really want to be doing. And he has said, well, what do you mean it's 2/3 of what you really want to do? I said, all the search and the digital stuff, that's the stuff I love. I'm a technical guy. I really enjoy the search. I love building solutions for clients. I love to see the success. I said, but I want to understand how the business operates. I want to understand the sales and marketing aspects of it. And he said very politely, he said, we can't do that for you. This is an operational role. Your management and that side of things, you're going to oversee a few people in several accounts. We're not going to have you involved in the sales side of things. And I said, thank you so much. And I need to decline the job. Well, they sent me my first customer. I told them I'm going to hang my shingle, and they sent me my first customer. So it's pretty interesting. So that's how the journey began. And I shut down. I guess you could say this is my first full-time opportunity of being an entrepreneur. The other ones where I don't know that it was fear, but I always have to say fear was part of it. You know, you don't want to give up your day job and focus on something full-time. So that's the story I'm sticking to for today.
It's interesting that, you know, there's a common theme with a lot of the people I talk to that are entrepreneurs and get started in this, you know, in the crazy world of business, that there's usually somebody there to believe in them and push them to take that leap. And in your case, it was your wife, you know, at a pancake house, which is, you know, a classic entrepreneur story. It's usually over pancakes.
Really is. Yeah, it's somewhere, right?
Yeah. And I had just put a post out on social media not long ago talking about how my dad was the, you know, catalyst for, I was in a job I just started to hate. I loved the people, hated the company, hated the environment. It was just toxic. And, you know, I just had a chat with him, and his line was, as long as you have a credit card and a dream, you could do anything you want. And
best advice I ever got was a friend of mine saying, what's the worst that happens? You get a job?
Well, this is, I mean, I don't think either of us are going to be writing a business book of, here's, you know, get a credit card. If you don't kill yourself by 25, you start saving some money.
Start saving some money.
This isn't, you know, people who are actually MBAs out there and they're like, this is not how you do business. And it's like, well, it kind of worked for us. We're still here. And, you know, look at the beards we're growing.
I will never write and this is my advice to every entrepreneur. Listen, if you need funding, write a business plan. If you don't need funding, write a one-page simple vision statement about who you are, who your customers are, and what you want to be when you grow up. There's some great formulas out there. Do that. Don't spend weeks writing a business plan, because you're gonna pine over the financials. That won't be anywhere close to right. And you're gonna put it in a drawer, like 3/4 of the ideas we have, and you're never gonna see it again.
That's so true. Yeah, I've got a huge drawer. You can't see it over here off to the right, and it's filled with hopes and dreams and business plans, because the reality of the day.
Shattered dreams and business plans.
They're the best kind.
Well, they are, and it's funny when you get energy. It's sort of weird. I wrote a blog post on Forbes a couple of years back, just
Wait,
about.
You write? You can write?
I have occasionally. I have some ghosts in the background that help me out. I just spew out words. I go, "Oh, Steve said something smart today," and it was about this, using your ideas wisely, because you've got a staff, right? So, and we've seen each other along the way at different conferences. I had this tendency. I used to come back from conferences with just a head full of ideas, none of them well formed. And I would just shoot them rapid fire at anybody on the team whose attention I had. Oh my, did they resent me?
Did they get to the point of the 2-week cycle? It's just let them talk, let's hide, and then it'll go away. The energy will go away, and we'll go back to normal, and he'll forget about it and move on.
If they did, they hadn't told me. I did have some great conversations with a few people, and they said, some of the ideas are great, but you can't come back with 43 of them and just because you, and that's the idea of waiting a couple of weeks. So my new rule is, let those ideas marinate for a while. Go ahead and write them out myself. Maybe ask somebody a question here or there, but don't pretend it's the next sliced bread for anybody involved. Because one of the things I know, I don't realize it as an entrepreneur, as a leader and a boss, how busy my team is. I know they're busy, but I take that for granted. And they also have what I always call bossness, right? If the boss reaches out, well, that's the boss. And you know me, I don't operate that way. I'd love to work alongside people. Nobody works for me. Everybody works with me. But you can't, our old habits are hard to break, right? So people go, "Oh, that's Steve. I better answer. What do you need? What do you need?" First of all, what I need you to do is, if you think any of this is crazy, just tell me to shut up. And there are quite a few people in the organization now who will tell me that, which is great. So they'll temper my enthusiasm for my crazy.
Well, that's a great point, because a lot of us a lot of the people who I consider dear friends, and for me, this is a little passion project, and I just get to have chats with people I know and love and trust and admire, and and then you and other people.
Okay, you beat me to it. And I was like, I wonder where I fit in all this.
I can't be serious with you. There's just no way this is going to be. But we go to these conferences, right? And and you come back. It's like drinking from a fire hose. Yeah. And you come back with all this stuff, and I've been finding now, in the absence of these conferences, because the virtual just doesn't, it's not the same. It's absolutely not the same. Mm-hmm. And so I've been now, trying to keep the balance going, work home life. I've got this studio I turned into, in a spare bedroom in my house, and I spend an inordinate amount of time here now. And I find that when I'm, kind of wandering the house aimlessly, and then if I get in the shower, it's kind of like that little think tank, and all the ideas just start pouring out. And I'm like, I'm almost scared to take a shower every day now, because that's when I get my best thinking done. And what's really happened though is I've managed to be very fortunate to have a great leadership team at our company, and they temper the ideas of, we got to stay focused. They love the fact that I come up with all these crazy, like, let's go here, let's go there. And a lot, like you said, a lot of the stuff is like, hey, that's pretty good, but we have like only 60 hours a week we can work, and then we're kind of toast. Let's keep it in a box.
Have you seen the capacity plan lately, boss?
Yeah. Here's red. and here's like crimson or whatever the next color is, and then black. We're over here in the dark black area.
Which of these 10 clients would you like me to say no to so I can manage your whim?
Yeah.
Oh, now that you put it like that.
And it's amazing how the people on the front lines who are in it every day, and I think this is part of the, the small giants, the great game of business, the places where you and I kind of hang out, embrace that whole culture of, like you said, it's us, it's not top down, it's not me, it's me versus them. You allow them the space to have their say, and it does help course correct.
Oh, yeah.
One of the things we've done this year, which has been the most amazing thing, and I don't know where I got the idea from. It just kind of, and I know it was from somebody else. It's not an organic idea.
Take credit. It's fine. Take credit. No, I had this brilliant idea. It was in a shower, man.
Most of the people who listen to this know me, so there's no way I'm getting away with that.
At 13:22, Eric said,
"Yeah."
There's a little note next to it. Need to call bullshit.
Well, that would be probably every 20 seconds of this podcast. But we decided to reach out to our clients, and we created a client advisory council, and we've had 2 meetings now, 2 quarterly meetings, and some amazing ideas have come out of it. And when you've got them together on, like, because we're doing Zoom calls now, so it's very similar to what we're doing here, except there's kind of an agenda and a structure to it, unlike this wandering path through the desert that we're doing. And the idea is, like, we came to them with, hey, we're a victim of our own success. How do we sell you these other services you need when you don't think you need them, but the stuff we did isn't going to work in the future? And they just looked at us and went, okay, just like that, what you just said, tell us that, and then tell us how much, and then let us make the decision. I'm like, it can't be this easy. And they're like, wow. Yeah, it is this easy. But when they're all, and then they start talking to one another on the meeting, and it's just like you're sitting back going, this is just like golden nuggets coming out, because they're telling us what they want.
Right.
It's like, who would have thought that?
What an amazing idea. Client advisory. I wrote that down. So you've inspired me. So one of my
let me temper you.
One of my team is going to hate you in the morning.
Just one? I would. That's a low bar. I would think it's much higher.
No. I only share my ideas with one at a time. I don't want to make too many people crazy. No, that's a really cool concept, a client advisory council, because we're always looking. Actually, we just we're resimplifying a lot of things in the organization, and we're resimplifying our client scorecard. Love on one axis and money on the other. And it's the idea of how much do we love the client and think that they love us on a scale of 1 to 5? How much money is the client generating for us on a scale of 1 to 5? And then just plot them out. And then there's a red, yellow, and green section to that, right? If there's not a lot of love in the room, well, guess what? We probably shouldn't be working with the client. If there's a ton of love and not a lot of money, well, let's go look for cross-sell and upsell opportunities. But let's do that. But the thing is, the hard part, we've tried. I don't know if you've tried Net Promoter Scores. Mm-hmm. We've done them. They've failed miserably. Clients just don't open that email and press 10. Here's $10 to press 10 next time you get that message. Let me know how you're feeling about us. And I read something, and and we're going to follow up on it. I forget what organization it was, so I'm not taking credit for it here. Is that, the statement was something along the lines of, well, we tried Net Promoter Scores and we did plenty of other things, and then we just decided to pick up the phone and ask our clients how they felt, and things went much better. And that's exactly what you did. And now you've done it in a group setting, which is bold, because I imagine walking into that, you had to have some reservations and some concerns. Oh, what is Susie going to say about Jimmy, or what are they both going to say about us? And on the Swanson account, we had a couple of mistakes about a month ago.
Yeah, because you're certainly not perfect all the time, and that's the first one was definitely a little nerve-wracking, and it was new to everybody. And I'll tell you, about 30 minutes in, we just started kind of hitting our stride, because the stuff was resonating. The first meeting that we did, we asked them for feedback. So we had like a list of about 10 questions that people wanted to hear answers from us.
Yeah.
And then that started the conversation. The second one was more of our agenda of, here are the things we're working on. How does this resonate with you? And then, and that's driving our objectives for the next few quarters, because if we're working on something that everybody's going, I don't understand what you're doing. Okay, let's stop right there, scrap that, and take a left turn and back to what they think is valuable.
Yeah. Well, there's a wonderful opportunity in there too. One of the principles of EOS is, keep a 20 ideas list and pick your favorite one and try selling your new favorite idea once a quarter. Try to sell your new idea to as many of your customers as possible. And if you're running a client advisory council and you have this meeting scheduled on a recurring basis, well, you've got an audience right there to say, hey, I'm going to put up a couple of slides. I want your feedback. What do you think of we're rolling a new widget out. What do you think? Is this something you could use? And you give them the opportunity to say, wow, that's really cool. Boy, that smells like cheese. And then you can also find some beta testers for it, which is, those people on the call, anytime you roll out a new product, you want to give a little bit away for free, just so you can ask for that free feedback. So what a cool concept for that.
Yeah. And it's inspired our team too, because we had a couple of our engineers join. So like our leadership team was on, we had people from procurement, people from finance, and then engineering. And our longest tenured employee was, after the first call, was like, why have we not been doing this all along? Because so like here you have a brilliant idea, and then at the same time it's so successful that then they're coming back going, hey, aren't you in charge here? Where have you been for the last 15 years? Where was this idea?
Don't you hate that? Don't you hate it when everybody goes, wow, I'm like, man, I didn't think of this 10 years ago. This is stupid simple.
It when you think about it on its surface. The other beautiful thing about it, so you've got, the feedback coming from the clients. Now you've got buy-in from your team, because they're seeing and they're hearing all these good things from the clients that maybe they're not exposed to.
Right, because it's all business. When you're on a status call with a client, it's all checklists, right? You're walking through an agenda. Yeah. This is a little bit more of an open forum.
Yeah. Well, we had 2 clients connect afterwards, and they might do business together. It's another beautiful thing too. Now we're helping them grow, which then again, they'll need more service from us. So just by putting everybody in a room together, we're figuring out how to grow each other's businesses. And, it's one of those transparent environments where, people can say whatever they want and challenge the status quo. And if we think we're going in the wrong direction, course correct us, get us back on track. And, to me, that's kind of like self-starter leadership. Like, I don't even have to do anything. Just get them all in a room and let them talk.
How long have you been doing it now?
So we just finished our second quarter. So we've been doing it for 6 months. We just finished our second quarter meeting last week.
So once a quarter you run them?
Correct. Yeah, because we're asking for 90 minutes, and this one actually went 2 hours. They were talking so much that we stayed on an extra half hour, and we record them, and then we play them, put them in a private YouTube channel, and send it out to the entire client list. So even if you're not part of it, you can actually watch the conversation and chime in if you want.
That's really pretty wonderful. What a wonderful concept. You know what? It's interesting you say, it took me 10 years, 15 years to come up with the idea. I can imagine that ideas like this take a long time to grow the chutzpah and say, let's go do that. Let's put all of our clients in a petri dish together and let's solicit their feedback. You're like, Steve, I can't stand that fella, or, whatever, that beard of his, but it's just really, you're really rolling the dice, but that's when you create the greatest opportunities, when you're willing to take the most risk. So what a really cool concept, because that I can see how that would backfire. But again, your clients, well, and you trust your clients, you respect your clients. So you're like, hey, I can bring them on the phone and let them talk, let them share. And you're also going to find common issues across your clients that gives you an opportunity to say, hey, client services, let's up our game a little bit in this one area, because that's what I heard on the call.
Yeah. Well,
that's powerful.
We had, so a couple things on that. One, the first part of it is the people who stepped up and said, I want to be part of this early on. Those are your biggest fans anyways, right? Because you're asking for 90 minutes of their time every quarter, and you're not paying them for it, but they know they're going to get something back out of it. So there was a little less fear in that regard, because the people raising their hands, you kind of already knew you had really solid relationships with. And then we had a newer client kind of volunteer for the second meeting. And prior to that, he had a conversation with one of our advisors and said, hey, what do I have to pay you to get more attention? And it wasn't, and he wasn't framing it in the, you're not doing a good job. It's, I'm growing and I need more from you. We need to restructure our contract. What does this look like? Because here are the things that are missing. We took that information. We have a new tool that we're using to show him that. We debuted it in front of everybody on the call. Awesome. And his eyes were like, he was looking into the screen like, I can't believe a week ago I mentioned this and you're already on it.
You're building it.
Tool. Yeah. So it's that kind of cool stuff that happens.
Let me just say, this beard is made for that exact question. Ask me that question. Ask me that question you started that with.
What question?
Steve, how do I spend more money with you?
Oh, Steve, how do I spend more money with you?
Let me think about this, Mr. Rieger. I've got some idea. For
the radio audience, he's stroking his beard.
I wish we don't operate that way. We don't operate that way. We have vision and values, and we try to live by a code, I guess is the way you say it, and you try to treat every client and partner with as much respect as you want to be treated with. So you can't do that. We're not fleecers.
I'm curious with your love and money concept, where you have your grid and your rating systems, and then that kind of lands you. We tried that in the past. We had like some type of client ranking. We had similar, some similar type of metrics where there was relationship and whatnot. Uh-huh. And one of the things that I found a correlation was when you're talking about your love metric, how much they love you. It's directly proportional to the outcomes that they're receiving from you, I would assume, right? So if they're getting value and they're good people to start with, then there's got to be a higher love ratio.
Well, yes or no. What I find
you have to pick one of those. It's either yes or no.
It's when you have a strong relationship with a client, when you're high on that love scale, when you're at 4 or 5 on that scale, you have earned trust and respect. And on the emotional intelligence scale, that means you've got this idea of shared outcomes when you get through there, right? So there's a lot more honesty and forgiveness, if you will. So not that I like to make mistakes, but you said it earlier, mistakes happen. It's just a way of life. So with those clients where there's a lot of love, the trust is one of those cofactors, and you get a lot more opportunity to reach out and say, hey, guess what? We made a mistake. This happened on your campaign, or this happened on your website. Here's what's going on. And it's also how our team feels about the client as much as the client feels about us. But to a degree, you're right? If when everybody's winning, it's pretty easy to be happy. So if performance is through the roof, then the client's going to say, Steve, nailed it again. Congratulations. Good job. Bravo. Great team. Great team. And then, hey, you know what? Our performance is pretty suspect. Then you start wondering about the love, and you have to figure it out. So it's really hard to put a love metric on a scale like that when you've only known a client for several months to a year, like early in the relationship. But we have a few clients who've been with us 10 years or more. And those clients, they fit right up into that 4 or 5 scale on the love. And they're also the ones that give you the most honest and unfiltered feedback.
And that's, to me, that's the best kind, like I don't want people, sugarcoating it, or you can't improve if you don't know where the problems are. And those types of things tend to fester. And that happens internally too, with your team, like if you're not doing the same kind of attention. And tell me, I mean, we're dealing with a global pandemic now. We're going on month, 8 or 9 or 10 or 12, depending on when you started counting. How have you been handling that with your team? I mean, were you guys mostly remote to begin with, or has there been change?
We were stuck in the middle of office and remote. We've got a really cool office on the north side of Chicago. and about a third of our team has been historically remote, ebbs and flows. But we found among locals, people wanted to work from home more and more. And they said, well, can we just come in the office a couple of days a week? And we said, sure. There's a couple of mandatory office days, we tried to call them, but even those were fought. So if there's anything, the pandemic in terms of relationships at work, there's a couple of things at play. So we just got back some employee engagement surveys, and I had a conversation with the good folks at Amplify. But the two things at play, one is it's taught everybody who's been in the office, it's thrown away all those preconceived notions about working remotely because we're all doing it. We all have to fit into that. And I've got a new respect for everybody who's been working remotely for years. We've got a couple of team members up in northern Michigan, and there's an office in the house, and you check into the office at some point, but it's hard to stay in that office. Just like I want to be in this box that you see me in, but I'm a social creature. I want to get out of the box. There's nowhere to go here. I've got a wife and one of my kids here somewhere and a couple of dogs, but that's not my social life. It's certainly part of my life and a wonderful part of it, but it's not my social existence. So finding those random conversations, that's what I long for and I miss. I also realize that, like most companies, we chat via Slack, and there aren't as many conversations. Now, everybody wants to get on the weekly stand-up call internally, and they want to learn what's going on in the organization. Are we healthy? Are we happy? What are we marching toward? And that's wonderful. But all the faces are hidden except for the leadership team. And you get a few comments, but you can't see what the responses are. So sometimes, my parents always told me, talking to you is like talking to a wall. And it is. You're sitting here talking to the screen. See, now I can watch you nodding along and agreeing, and I can tell when you have something to say. But when I'm talking to 15 or 20 or 30 blank boxes on the screen that just have names or cute little avatars of space men, I can't tell if you're ready to jump in and say something, or if I've been talking too long or anything like that. So that's been a shift in the dynamic. And we just got some Amplify scores. I'll dive into the Amplify right quick. We met with Amplify and walked through our engagement scores, and our engagement scores were down in Q3. And she called it a fairly significant drop. But then she went on to caveat it, and she said, let me just say something. Yeah. And we thought she was going to deliver more bad news on top of that. She said, each and every one of my clients has a trend line that looks exactly like that. And then she went on to explain how we're all just getting worn out, pandemic and being at home, and now that it's fall and we're being locked back in our houses, the mood's shrinking. So it was really, really interesting. So we're trying to do some things to mix it up. It's hard to engage with everybody every day. I got a buddy, I saw him a few days ago. He's in logistics and shipping. He's got a bunch of people that work for him. He said, I make a point of calling everybody on my team every day, see how things are going, see if I can help with anything. And I thought to myself, that's really pretty darn cool. I wonder if I could integrate something like that. So how are you doing it on your side? Because we're struggling, and I know a lot of companies are. I know we have some one-offs and we do some things. There's a cool happy hour sort of software that rotates people every 5 minutes, and you get a new partner to talk to, which is kind of fun. But tell me what the rest of the world is doing.
Yeah,
you're the man with the podcast.
We've the three people listening podcast. So the three of us are we've been at our office, we call it COVID fatigue. And I think that's just kind of a common thing that everybody's going through, and you throw in some election fatigue in there. Regardless of what team you were cheering for, it was right. It was a battle to just have that, and just have this kind of a lack of a coordinated effort nationwide of what are we doing, and it just wears you down. Yeah. And so in a normal year, you'd have employees with issues. People have lives. People have things going on in their personal life. This amplified it. I mean, this made the bad things kind of worse. So we started. We talked with our coach. We're trying to figure some things out. We're going to do more one-on-ones and rotate. so that the leadership team, so like if you have a direct report, you're not doing the one-on-one with the direct report, to get more involvement around the company of areas
Oh,
you're not
interesting.
necessarily involved in. And
Huh.
so what I started doing is, I've got, all this recording stuff set up. I started recording 5 to 10 minute videos a couple times a week and posting them in our, we have like our Microsoft Office 365 platform has a video channel.
Mhm.
So in Stream, I've just started, like, I'll fire up the mic and the video camera at night, and I'll just tell everybody all the good things that are going on. Like, hey, we signed a client today.
Oh, that's
This
cool.
person had some success. This is that. Hey, we're considering, one of the things we're talking about doing is, I've engaged Talkspace and BetterHelp, which are online mental health services. So you can, video chat with a counselor. And
Yeah.
I'm like, okay, is this of value to you guys? Like, if we paid for this service, would you use it? And just trying, because it's hard to get an all hands meeting in our world, with the tech stuff. It's
Oh,
it's
yeah.
impossible to get,
Clients come
23
first.
people on a line.
Yep.
And we do that on Fridays with our financial stuff. So we've already got a half hour carved out for that. It's asking a lot for people to, come in and
Oh,
listen to me.
absolutely.
So I figured, okay, well, I'll record the
Well,
message on my time.
that's the part you're missing, to get people to come in and listen to me. Like, oh wait, oh, not again.
Yeah.
He wants more time. He's so needy.
Well, that's why you can record these videos, put them up there, and then let them watch them on their time. And it was interesting starting to get some feedback from people, is like, a few of the employees have said, I'm talking to friends of mine, and it just doesn't seem like they're in a caring environment, and I'm like, okay, well,
Yep.
You put yourself in our shoes and the stress we're dealing with, right? You can't have that conversation with your employees. Like, hey, I didn't want to get out of bed today, but I did for you.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I mean, you're caring for all those people. You've got your own personal challenges in life going on. So it's been a tough year, but we do the virtual happy hour once a month. So on 5 o'clock on a Friday, we've hammered
Yep.
it out. We go on, we have this thing called Kahoot. So we play trivia,
Yeah.
win prizes, and we drink heavily while we're doing it.
That's what I do on podcasts.
Yeah. Cheers. So, I mean, that's pretty much what we've been doing to handle it so far. And I think just the communication aspect has never been more important.
Yeah.
I really now have a better appreciation when you talk about these companies that, that have been virtual for years. I will put our culture up against companies like that any day of the week, because I know when we are back together, it was
Yep.
a really crappy time for this pandemic to hit, because our culture was kind of really hitting its stride. We got a great
Oh,
team.
yeah.
We got a lot of people who like each other. They genuinely want to be there and help each other. And then bam, you tear them apart. And it's like, now we're going to have at least a year or two to have to rebuild that.
Well, and think about it too. Those organizations, there's a lot of amazing organizations that have had to let people go. And every time you let people go, pandemic or no pandemic, you get survivor syndrome. You get the am I next? How healthy is the company? And as much as I know about the finances, and as much as several people in the organization know about the finances, we've always been an open kimono company. And as much as many people know, I can easily take for granted, which is unfortunate, how much they don't know. And when they see a number, or they hear somebody on the leadership team say something, their interpretation of it is completely different than the intended message. And I said something a couple of weeks ago. I was out for a couple of months, and I came back, and I've been settling back into some of the routine meetings and some of the other stuff, and somebody asked me about company health, and I said, right now we're a financially stable organization. And the word stable shook some people. I don't know what else I can say. we can pay our bills, we can pay our people. We've got great clients, we've got some money in the bank. We're stable. We'll get through this year, and I don't know what the election's going to do, what COVID's going to do, but I'll throw civil unrest into there, because we've had so many problems, and there's so many different things that have been thrown at us this year. The fact that Its dory, right, just keeps swimming. And so many people are unfortunately out of work. So many people have lost jobs. So trying, and it's so weird because you see it ebb and flow in the organization, despite being open book and despite sharing financials on a weekly basis. And we've adapted to a forecasting cash flow model to let people know if we see a bump in the road. And everybody, it's so funny. Everybody wants you to be able to predict the future 3 and 6 months down the road. My future gets cloudy after about 60 days of forecast, right?
Yeah.
I need new business to come in. I need to not lose any business. I need to turn some projects into recurring revenue. There's a lot that goes into it. And you can't see too far out with your crystal ball. And everybody wants more, right? I want to know that my chubby little airplane has plenty of runway to take off. That's what I want to know. I want to know that the runway doesn't end. It's hard to get to, and the key is making sure you've got some cash reserve. You're not taking on debt and spending that on salaries, but at some point there's that trade-off that you're willing to make to support the greater good of the team and that culture that you speak of, right? Because every little thing can dent and ding that culture.
If forecasting was easy, everybody'd be an entrepreneur.
And we'd all be wealthy.
Amen to that.
Well, if I just move a zero, yeah.
Yeah, our company's revenue is a rounding error for a lot of the real successful companies. So
I'm going to share a quick anecdote. I was on a call yesterday, 2021 planning call with our chief revenue officer, and we started talking about the financials and how we're going to try and align things for heading into next year and make sense of where we are. And it took us the better part of an hour to get to so we had a delta in our salaries and benefits number of kind of where we are today, where we'd like to be tomorrow, next year with, we want to add some bonus programs, but we need to hire a couple of people. And we have a target of revenue for next year. And we've got people, and then we've got some other expenses. And it took us an hour or so to arrive at the 3 levers that we get to push and pull to try and make this, it was like $400,000 or $500,000 to make this number shrink. And so you end up, okay, can we increase our top line? Well, if you increase your top line by $500,000 or $1 million, well, now you need another salesperson. So that's going to increase the salary line, which is one of those lines you're trying to squeeze down. So you can't move that one up without moving the other one up. And then you're getting into the benefits line where you've got a couple of different bonus categories, if you will, and you're looking at line items there. And so you squeeze those, but now you're affecting morale and culture because people are looking forward to some of those bonuses. So then finally what we ended up with, we said, maybe the ratio of salary and benefits to our top line revenue should change instead. So we found an exit and said, okay, so a lot of companies operate, especially a service organization. I don't know where your team is at, but they say operate between 50 and 65% of revenue is what you pay salaries and benefits. And
yep,
we had picked a number based on research history, things like that. And we stared at one another, and she looked at me and said, well, we've been at 62% historically. And I said, what's the new number at? She said 55%. I said, we're not getting to 55 next year. And she said, I think you're right. And so we said, okay, let's make this a range instead. But you don't have all those levers to work with. So it's like making those choices around planning a team. It is forecasting as good as we can. How does this look, Eric?
Yeah, blurry, just like everything else this year.
And then you get it, and you present the plan to a whole team, and then they say, this looks wonderful. And then you get 6 weeks into it, and the wheels come off of the apple cart.
Yeah.
What happened to our plan? Life.
Pivot. That's the word of 2020.
Oh, it is.
We pivoted.
Have you had successful pivots in the organization? What have you done? Or have things been, just do more better and be of great service to your clients? I know a lot of people did that too.
Well, for what we do when the pandemic hit, I mean, we had to shift about 2,000 workers from on-premise to remote. So, I mean, that was fun. We had some busy times there, and then things settled down a little bit, and then the project revenue kind of took a dip because nobody was spending money until they figured out what was going on.
Figure out they had it.
Yeah, well, but at the same time, what happened was, we have software development, and in the nonprofit space, that just hit I mean, just it took off like a rocket ship.
Oh,
And
wow.
there were a couple relationships that drove that, but because of the fact so many people were out of work, and I can talk about it now with the food insecurity, we actually were contracted to develop an application that's going to connect food insecure people to food resources, and
Awesome.
that's going to debut in a couple weeks on Greater Chicago Food Depository's main page. Like, it's going to replace what they have now.
That will
And
grow your grinchy little heart if you let it.
it's gonna go nationwide potentially, because there's some other conversations happening. But that's
Awesome.
that's the pivot that took off, and it was sort of unintentional,
Mm-hmm.
but it was a result of, it put the accelerator on the program, because you had this many people with food insecurity, and then all of a sudden 30 million people are out of work.
Yeah.
Lines are out the door, and so the people who had the resources to make this happen stepped up and said, we got to go. And so we went from 2 developers to 5 developers, and it's like, oh great, this is mouths we didn't plan on feeding, but something's happening here. And again, you take the plan and you went, okay, throw that out the window, because and now that the fourth quarter's come by, all the people who have their pretty much idea of how this is going to impact them, because we're in the worst of it, and they're still in business and moving on. Now they want to do all their projects that they put off. And so that's hit the fan, and we're busy as all get out. So
yeah,
fun stuff. But again, it could be worse. We're grateful for the position we're in, and just keep marching forward.
I feel the same way. Just extraordinarily grateful for where we are, and it's interesting. I think that we all had to hunker down to weather the storm. What we've seen our change in is we've seen an increase in project work, and we consider a project anything that's 90 days or less. Mm-hmm. And people want to put their toes in the water. They don't want to make a significant investment because they want to see if they can spend money to make money. Budgets were tight. They have a little bit of money left. So we're seeing a lot more projects. So where I think our portfolio used to be about 85% retainer work, we've seen project work grow to much more than 15% of our portfolio. And it's interesting to shift resources in the mindset to say, okay, what are we doing? We're effectively doing, and we like to book our work into 90-day sprints anyway, just the idea of doing quarterly runs for your clients. But in these situations, you're doing even more, just because the client bar is so much higher in sort of these short sprints to say, I need to get this so I can, and a lot of times they're playing for next year's money or the next quarter's money. So it gets to be really interesting. They want to hit the ground running. They want to start quickly. So we haven't pivoted hard. We actually have a couple of products that we're rolling out now that were a byproduct of COVID, just in terms of how would we change the business and how can we be of service to these people who are looking for projects. So we've got a project service and a product service. What is it? I don't even know. I actually told somebody today, I don't even quite know what the doctor is, but I'm going to start selling it here in a couple of weeks. And they said, good, sell it. We need to sell more of it.
What is it you do again?
Yeah, huh? Yeah, that's right. People are going to be, hey Eric, you know that guy Steve you had on? It was going really, really well. I was thinking, hey, I should get his contact information. Sounds like he gets some of this stuff, but then he didn't know his own products.
But they're new. They still have that new car smell.
They do. So we've got a couple of clients in beta on it, and things are going well. So it's okay. We'll pull the curtains back and try to add that to the mix, which should be nice for a lot of these folks who are looking for more project work, that 60 to 90 day, tell us what's going on and let's see where we can spend our money most effectively. A lot of people usually show up and say, we want to go here and here. And we can, and we do. We say, you should go here and here instead. But a lot of time, there's not as much time and energy spent up front on the strategic portion of it. So it's this idea. Let's go back and say, where's your money spent most effectively? Where's the opportunity to grow the most? So we're excited about that. But yeah, to the idea of pivoting, we didn't have any wholesale pivots. It sounds like you didn't either. It sounds like some areas of the business grew unexpectedly, which is pretty awesome.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's, there's opportunity in every situation if you have that mindset. And, I'll give you an example. So, the restaurant shutdowns have been really affecting a lot of businesses, right? When the government comes in and says you basically can't be open anymore, and we don't have any money for you, but, hang tough, we'll be back
Right.
soon. And so what I heard some of the restaurants were doing, they innovated and they started a breakfast club and a lunch club and a dinner club where you paid like $1 for membership. So it's a private club, private function. They limit it to 25 members at a time, and they get around the rules and regulations. And they've, the restaurant industry has been, really on top of the sanitation stuff. I mean, that was their thing anyways.
They are not the spreaders.
Yeah.
Right now.
Well, but people got innovative. They're like, look, we don't want to battle the government. How can we take what they put in front of us as a rule and work with it? And I thought that was just genius. That's genius. Entrepreneurs, that's leadership, that's all the good things. You're innovating some new products, you said, new services. Yeah. We're doing the same on the software side. So to me, that's a key component of leadership, is that nothing is ever going to go like you plan. You can spend hours and days and weeks and months planning. You kind of need to know a general direction, and you need those guideposts to keep you from, but some semi is going to come and knock you off the road, and you got to be ready to go four-wheeling.
A plan means everything until you step on the field of battle.
Yeah. Well, was it Mike Tyson said everybody's got a plan until they get punched in the face?
I actually have a similar saying, is that some of life's best lessons come attached to a fist.
Yeah.
every time I've been punched in the mouth in life, I've learned something from it.
Yeah. And that's when you figure out what your next plan is, because that one didn't work.
What's plan B? Yeah, well, it's crazy and interesting.
Well, that seems like a good golden nugget to leave people with, because we're coming up on an hour for our interview here, and I definitely want to have you back, because I enjoy talking to you, and
I love it.
People can learn from our experiences and what not to do. I think that's our gift to humanity.
And just don't take yourself so seriously as an entrepreneur. Cherish the people that you work with. Cherish the people you work for, and count every day. I'm not a very religious person, but I say count every day as a blessing, because you mentioned that truck. It changes your plans, but it changes your life. And it's a weird little space. I had a huge perspective shift this year, myself personally, that I'm in the middle of. I'm not going to go into I could go into the detail, but it would go well over the hour. But it's navigating that while trying to lead a business. You learn what's valuable. We've had some of these conversations in the past about what's valuable. And okay. And then I find myself, okay, I need to go back to work. I'm not sure I want to go back to work. I have to go back. But it's that idea. It's like, you've got a great leadership team in place, let them run. But there's a certain point where I want to be back at work too. Right. And it's not necessarily some of it's the job, because I love what I do, but it's about having things to do. And you have to be able to do that. But life is going to keep coming at us. And I told somebody this year, my personal life I'm the diaper, and my personal life is the baby this year. It's kind of the way I try to explain it. And a couple of friends have asked, well, how are things going? And I said, well, I feel like a wet dog that's been standing in the rain for 3 hours trying to get in the house. That's one of my analogies. Another one is, well, what are you doing? What are you doing to take care of yourself? I said, well, I tried to put my head in the sand for a long, long time, but I realized I don't like the taste of sand. So I had to do something else. But you also can't ignore it. And you pull your head out of the sand, it's still coming. The world is still coming at you. So your best bet is to break it down. And I'll tell you, I mean, I watched one of the podcasts a while back, and you were talking about mindfulness and talking to people, and like being able to get I call it getting into and out of your own head. And along the way, I complemented my business coach with a mindfulness coach. And it was incredible. And I didn't realize how much baggage I was carrying, but I've had a lot of crap go on over here on this side of the world of my life. And you have to be able to, like Tyson, you got to get up and keep swinging, right?
Yeah.
You got to keep going. You got to have that resolve to be able to get up and keep going.
Well, it helps to have people in your corner too. I mean, surrounding yourself with people you can go to. And most of the people that I've had on the show have been, in the same boat where we're all entrepreneurs, and you can't turn to your employees for certain things because, that's a slippery slope. And all of a sudden, it's like, okay, I'm out of here. Like this is not a stable environment. This guy's ready to, yeah. So, but and also from a perspective is it's nothing against them. They just can't relate to what we deal with on a daily basis.
Right.
And it's that old saying, you never know what somebody else is going through in their life. So just be kind, just be kind to somebody.
Great statement.
You don't know the battles that they're facing. So, I appreciate every chance I get to talk to you. From the first time
the second time you're trying to say goodbye again, aren't you?
I am. I'm trying
to stop this recording. Steve won't shut up again.
This is called a segue, man. Let me have it. But seriously, the first time I met you, it was pretty obvious we were miswired the same way. So I appreciate having you in my circle, and you can always count on me for anything you need, anything, reach out. I appreciate you coming on and sharing, your wisdom or lack thereof with the guests here or the audience. How can people get a hold of you?
Here's what I want to do. I want to do this first. I want to prove that more than 3 people have listened to us today.
Oh, geez.
So I want as many people or everybody, you know what? At Steve Krull on Twitter. Hit me up on Twitter. Everybody who listens to this and I hear from, I will send you a $10 Starbucks gift card. Up to, let's say 20 or 30 people. What do you say? What's the number? What's my upward bound?
Well, let's do 30 and I'll split it with you.
So 15,
15 each.
The first 30 people get a $10 Starbucks gift card or a gift card of your choice. I could care less. I just want to know you're out there. I'd love to get your feedback and heck, love to answer your questions. So hit me up at Steve Krull on Twitter, or feel free to hit me up on LinkedIn. Find me on LinkedIn and friend me up, and we can start a conversation.
I appreciate you, man. What's another way they can get a hold of you? What's your email? What's your phone? How, besides Twitter, what else can I do to get into your personal life?
Okay. So my address is.
What's your cell? I want to text you tonight.
Okay. So quick aside, because we're about tangents. We were looking at client thank yous and appreciation gifts in Q3 and in Q4, and we have all their business addresses, and we kind of said, somebody said, we want to send everybody something, and then somebody said, it's a little weird to ask all your clients for their home addresses because they're all working from home. So we gave the client, we gave our clients an option. We said, if you'd like to give us your personal address, we'd like to send you something. However, if you're uncomfortable giving us your personal address, tell us the charity of your choice and we'll make a donation on your behalf. And we did that instead. And a lot of people selected the charity, which was a really cool thing. So the curve there worked for clients.
That just says how many people think you're creepy and they don't want to give you their home address.
I'm not giving you my home address. Let's just put that out there.
I have your home address.
Damn it. Hey, I thought your studio was.
when I was doing my quote unquote research for the show, that's called stalking, came across some information that I'm keeping for now, but it's called, what is it? Blackmail? No.
You might need it later.
What's the politically correct term for blackmail?
Is there one?
I don't think so.
You can reach me at steve@befoundonline.com. That's probably the easiest way to email me.
Okay. Perfect.
You got my Twitter at Steve Krull, Steve Krull on LinkedIn. There's probably a buzzer here somewhere that gets me to. I don't know.
All right. Steve, I appreciate everything, man. You're an awesome human being, and thanks for giving back here today and sharing with the children.
As are you. So wonderful to catch up. It's been far too long since we've been on the road together.
We're gonna have
we
have
did
a beer show.
We did a road show.
This is all we're gonna get for now.
There will be 3 people in the audience. I guarantee it.
I will PayPal you the $150 just in case.
Okay, 30 people, $10
right.
Starbucks or other gift cards. Let us know you're out there listening.
This is a
Thank
great
you, my
social
friend.
experiment. Have a wonderful day, evening, week, month, wherever you're listening
There's
from.
only 3 things: yesterday, today, and tomorrow. Right now.
All right. Well, have a great one of each of those.
All right. Thank you, my friend. It's been a pleasure.
Take care. This has been another wonderful, fascinating journey through the mind of tempered leaders. I have been your host, Eric Rieger. Thank you, Steve Krull. It's always a pleasure. Take care.